Good evening to all our viewers. Namaste. This is Dr. Aparna. I am your emotional healing synergist. That is, I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist, a passionate infopreneur, edupreneur, and medical writer. Today, on my pursuit to address, promote, and propagate Ayurveda and psychotherapy globally, I'm going to discuss on stress. So we've heard of this word a lot of times. This is a common problem people face, and clients come to us with stress, and stress. So today we are going to discuss what is stress, what are the causes of stress, is stress any good, what are the signs and symptoms of stress, what are the effects of stress on body and mind, and what are the types of stress with some case studies. See, I've divided this session of stress because it is a huge topic. I've divided into two parts. Today I'll be discussing all these, and in my next session on stress I would be discussing on tips and tricks and the methods to manage stress and what we do to manage stress. So let's get started. So, stress, stress, the word itself is giving stress probably for a few people. See, stress in the context of human psychology refers to the body's response to demands or pressures from the environment. It is a natural and instinctive reaction that evolved to help individuals cope up with challenges or threats. Stress can be triggered by various internal or external factors and can affect people both mentally and physically. So stress can affect both body and mind. But actually, stress is a natural body's response to demands or pressures from the environment. So it is instinctive. So we are going to know now that what is normal stress and what is abnormal stress. So the definition of stress, so stress as a mental health condition means stress is a state of mental or emotional strain resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. So it involves the body's physiological and psychological response to challenges, often causing feelings of tension, anxiety, and a sense of being overwhelmed. So, there are two types of stress in general. Like, what is normal stress? There is something called eustress, and there is something called distress. Is stress any good? So, eustress and distress are two types of stress that individuals experience in response to various situations. While both involve the body's physiological and psychological responses to stressors, they differ in their nature, effects, and overall impact on an individual's well being. So, let's explore each in detail. So, what is eustress? See, eustress is a positive form of stress that arises from beneficial and stimulating situations or challenges. Eustress is often referred to as good stress. That means that the stress which is normal and the stress which is productive, or the stress which is good, because it can have a positive impact on individuals performance, motivation, and personal growth. So eustress is a positive form of stress. So if you ask me what is eustress, so what happens when you have eustress? So eustress can develop motivation and focus. you Eustress can act as a powerful motivator, pushing individuals to take on challenges and strive for success. The anticipation of a positive outcome can enhance their focus and determination. So eustress can, increase motivation and focus, whether before an exam, whether before a marathon run. This stress which we experience is a good stress, that is called a positive stress. So feeling of excitement, eustress is associated with a feeling of excitement and enthusiasm. Individuals may experience heightened energy levels and a positive outlook during eustressful situations. And eustress is usually short term in nature. Eustress is usually short lived and occurs in response to specific events or challenges. Once the challenge is overcome or the goal is achieved, the stress response diminishes. So eustress can enhance performance. So eustress can improve performance and productivity. It can lead to increased creativity, problem solving abilities, and the capacity to handle difficult situations effectively. So eustress can enhance performance and productivity. So how? And it leads to, what happens is, it leads to creativity, problem solving abilities, and capacity to handle difficult situations effectively. So examples of eustress. So what is, eustress? Starting a new job, the excitement and motivation associated with a new opportunity can lead to eustress, enabling the individual to adapt quickly and excel in their new role. So, if you are preparing for any competition, athletes often experience eustress before a big event, which can enhance their performance and drive them to achieve their best results. So, taking on a challenging project, the excitement of tackling a different project can lead to eustress, fueling the individual's determination to succeed and produce high quality work. So, overall, eustress can be seen as a positive and manageable form of stress that enhances an individual's ability to cope with challenges and achieve their goals. So, eustress is a positive and manageable form of stress. That means this stress should be present. This is normal. Okay, in and that this is productive and it enhances an individual's ability to cope with challenges and achieve their goals. So then what is distress? So distress is a negative form of stress that arises from overwhelming or harmful situations that individuals perceive as a threatening or beyond their coping abilities. That means a person, that stress, instead of helping the person, it always becomes, it extends beyond their coping abilities. So this stress is called bad stress because of its adverse effects on physical and mental well-being. See, here in eustress, there is, it does not hinder the daily life, it enhances the productivity, it enhances the creativity. But the bad stress affects the physical and mental well-being. So, characteristics here of distress is negative emotional impact. So, distress is often associated with negative emotions such as anxiety, fear, sadness, and frustration. The individual may feel overwhelmed and find it difficult to cope with the stressor. So, prolonged duration, unlike eustress, distress can be chronic and persistent, lasting for an extended period if the stressor remains unresolved or continues to affect the individual. So this is prolonged, and this impairs functioning. So distress can hinder an individual's ability to function. So there in eustress, it enhances the ability to function. Here in distress, it can hinder an individual's ability to function effectively in their daily life. It may lead to difficulties in concentration, memory, decision making, and problem solving. So, adverse health effects, long term distress can have detrimental effects on physical health, leading to conditions such as high blood pressure, weakened immune system, and increased risk of chronic diseases. So these also impacts the health. So it has adverse health effects. So like conditions such as high blood pressure, weakened immune system, increased risk of chronic diseases. So, what are the examples of distress here? So, financial problem, struggling with mounting debts, unemployment, or financial insecurity can lead to distress impacting the individual's mental health and overall well being. Or loss of a loved one. The death of a family member or close friend can lead to profound distress as the individual navigates through grief and bereavement. And chronic work stress, prolonged work related stress. We all experience work stress some or the other time. Usually it happens, but if the work stress is prolonged, such as excessive workload, continuous excessive workload, lack of job satisfaction, or conflicts with the colleagues, can result in distress, affecting both the individual's professional and personal life. So summarize, eustress and distress represent two distinct forms of stress with varying impacts on an individual's life. So, while eustress can be beneficial and lead to personal growth, distress can have adverse effects on physical and mental health. Recognizing the difference between the two and adopting healthy coping strategies is essential for maintaining a balanced and resilient approach to life's challenges. So, eustress and distress. See, eustress, as I said, is a positive form of stress. So it can also be, it can be experienced during events such as getting married, even while you are getting married or starting a new job, or you are pursuing challenging goals. Eustress helps individuals. You can experience eustress in all these circumstances. So eustress helps individuals feel motivated, excited, and focused, and it is usually considered as manageable and beneficial. So we have a case study here. There is a marathon runner. We'll keep it as Parrot. Parrot here is an avid runner who has been training diligently for a marathon. The upcoming event represents a significant challenge for her, but she has a strong passion for running and has been looking forward to this race for a month. No, from months she is looking forward for the race. As the race day approaches, Sarah experiences eustress. So definitely on the day of race and before that, she experiences eustress. She feels energized, motivated, and confident in her abilities. The anticipation of the race keeps her focused on her training. So the anticipation of race, okay, tomorrow is race, tomorrow is a race, so keeps the marathon race, so that keeps her focused on her training. And the positive stress she experiences helps in improving her physical and mental endurance. During the marathon, Sarah performs exceptionally well and achieves a personal best time. So the eustress she encountered throughout her training played a vital role in her success, helping her push through different moments and maintain a positive outlook. So, next is distress. Here, distress is a negative form of stress that occurs when individuals face overwhelming or harmful situations. Here, also, what happens is distress can lead to feelings of anxiety, sadness, helplessness, and maybe have detrimental effects on both physical and mental health if it is prolonged. So, here also we have a case study for that. The overwhelmed college student. Here, let's consider Tiger. Tiger is a college student who has been struggling to keep up with his academic responsibilities due to a heavy course load and personal challenges. His grades have been declining and he's constantly worried about his future. The stress of academic expectations combined with financial difficulties and strained relationships with the family and friends start to take a toll on his mental well being. Here, what happens is with Tiger, he's already not good at academics and he feels a huge responsibility of the study. Then his family and friends are also always pressurizing him on study, study, study. So, and he has a constant worry about his future. So, this is not eustress, this is distress. So this is interfering in his daily function. So Alex experiences distress. So the tiger experiences distress, and his ability to concentrate and retain information is severely affected. Because of the distress, whatever he can retain, he is not even able to retain that. He has sleep problems, he has loss of appetite, he has persistent feelings of sadness, further exacerbates his distress. All these, adds to his distress. Without proper coping mechanisms, Alex's distress continues to intensify, leading to burnout and a decline in his overall quality of life. So, in summary, eustress and distress represent two sides of the stress spectrum. Eustress can be seen as positive and beneficial, leading to improved performance and personal growth. So, causes of, see, we have discussed about the what is eustress and what is distress. So eustress is the manageable amount of stress, it should be present, so not distress. So what causes stress? So, what are the causes of stress? So, work related stress. This is the most we see, that is high workloads, tight deadlines, job insecurity, lack of control over tasks, conflicts with co-workers or superiors, colleagues can contribute to work related stress. Then academic stress. So students may experience stress due to academic pressures, exam anxiety, fear of failure, and the need to perform well in studies. This also we see frequently. Next is financial stress. See, financial difficulties, debt, job loss, or an uncertain financial future can lead to significant stress and anxiety. Then is relationship stress. Problems in personal relationships, such as conflicts with partners, family issues, or social isolation, can be major sources of stress. So, major life changes, even such as moving to a new city, marriage, divorce, bereavement, that is, loss of a family member, illness, can create a significant stress as they disrupt familiar routines and require adaptation. Health concerns. So if you have a chronic illness, if you physical injuries, actually we have a separate thing called post traumatic stress disorder. After the trauma, it may be a physical trauma or it may be a psychological trauma. After the trauma, the stress which is the stress induced is called post traumatic stress disorder. It also happens, this may also happen with the health concerns, or the fear of developing health problems can lead to stress and anxiety. So there are environmental stressors. Living in a noisy, polluted, crowded environment, or grumpy environment can contribute to chronic stress. Next is information overload. In today's digital age, modern era, the constant flow of information, social media, and technology can overwhelm individuals and contribute to stress. Next is unrealistic expectations, putting excessive pressure on oneself to meet high expectations, that is unrealistic goals, whether self imposed or influenced by others, can lead to stress. So we should always have, smart goals. Smart is specific, measurable, you know adaptable, reliable, and which have accurate and time bound. All these smart goals we should have, time bound goals. So we should not have unrealistic goals. Like, if some suppose, if you want to reduce your weight, you have to have a goal of, reducing this many kilos in this much time by this diet, and you should have a smart goal. Instead of that, if you think that in 15 days I'm going to reduce 20 kilos, which is an unrealistic goal. So if you are having an unrealistic goal like this, it may be in the professional work as well. The project which has to be finished in 3 months or 6 months, if you keep that you have to finish that project in a month or 15 days, that might be an unrealistic goal, and that will add stress. And instead of completing it fast, you may take much time. So instead of completing it in 6 months, you may take 1 year or 2 years because of the stress you experience. And the time pressure, having too many tasks to complete in a limited amount of time, can lead to stress, especially when juggling multiple responsibilities. And uncertainty, facing uncertain outcomes or unclear future prospects, can create feelings of anxiety and stress. And traumatic events, experiencing or witnessing traumatic events such as accidents, natural disasters, or violence, can lead to acute stress reactions. So it is important to note that stress affects individuals differently. It might affect different individuals differently. So what might be stressful for one person may not be the same for another. Additionally, stress can have both short term effects like acute stress reactions and long term effects like chronic stress, which can have significant implications for physical and mental health if not managed effectively. Seeking support from friends, family, or professionals and adopting healthy coping strategies are essential for managing stress effectively. Stress can have a profound impact on the body and mind. When the body perceives a threat or challenge, the stress response is activated, releasing a cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters that prepare the body to react. This response is commonly known as fight or flight response. So, see, stress can have a profound impact on both body and mind. We are going to see how it would impact body differently and how it would impact um, mind differently. So, see, whenever a body senses any threat or challenge, the stress response is activated. So it is, stress is a natural response of the body, natural reaction of the body. So releasing a cascade of hormones and neurotransmitters that prepare the body to react. So this response, this is called as fight or flight response. Fight or flight response, and is designed to help individuals cope with immediate threats. However, when stress becomes chronic and overwhelming, it can have detrimental effects on both physical and mental health. Effects of stress on the body, what all the effects happens effect are the effects of stress on the body. So on the cardiovascular system, what happens, matlab cardiovascular system is related to heart and the blood vessels. So chronic stress can lead to increased heart rate and blood pressure, putting extra strain on the heart and potentially increasing the risk of heart disease and hypertension. Hypertension is BP, what we call high BP. So higher blood pressure. So chronic stress can lead to, lead to putting a extra strain on the heart and increasing the risk of heart disease and hypertension. And immune system, what is the effect of stress on immune system? Prolonged stress weakens the immune system, making individuals more susceptible to infections and illnesses. Prolonged stress makes body more susceptible to infections and illness. What happens to the digestive system? Stress can cause gastrointestinal issues such as stomach aches. You can have abdominal pain, diarrhea. People might have loose stools, or people might experience constipation. It can also exacerbate conditions like irritable bowel syndrome. There's a syndrome, I think some of you might have heard of irritable bowel syndrome. So it also exacerbates, that is, it increases irritable bowel syndrome. So, and what are the effects of stress on musculoskeletal system? See, stress can lead to muscle tension and pain, contributing to conditions like tension headaches, back pain, and muscle spasms. So and it can trigger headaches, backaches, and muscle spasms. So what are the effects of stress on respiratory system? Stress may exacerbate respiratory conditions like asthma, and cause shallow or rapid breathing. It might decrease breathing, it might increase breathing. So it might increase asthma attacks in people having asthma. Okay, and what happens to reproductive system if you have stress? In women, stress can disrupt menstrual cycles, while in men it may lead to erectile dysfunction or reduced sperm count. So here also, it has a major impact onto the reproductive system as well. So these are the impact of stress on the body. What does it do? How does the stress affect the mind? So if anxiety, chronic stress can lead to persistent feelings of anxiety and nervousness. Depression, prolonged stress may contribute to the development of depression or worsen existing depressive symptoms. Cognitive impairment. Cognitive impairment is stress can impair your concentration, your memory, and decision making abilities. And stress can lead to emotional instability. So individuals under stress may experience mood swings, irritability, or emotional outbursts. And the people with stress experience often experience sleep disturbances. Stress often disrupts sleep patterns, leading to difficulties falling asleep or staying asleep. Fatigue, chronic stress can result in feeling of exhaustion and burnt out. They're always tired, you know they're always exhausted and burn out. So this is the impact on the body and mind. So what are the signs and symptoms? So what will you see? How will you know that you have stress? The physical symptoms may include headaches or migraines, muscle tension or pain, fatigue or low energy, digestive issues such as some stomach aches, diarrhea, constipation, rapid heartburn or palpitation. Your heart, beats very faster, and you can experience that. Sometimes it happens. That is called palpitations. Changes in the appetite, that is eating more. If a person is stressed, a person can eat more or eat less. Both might happen. Insomnia or sleep disturbances. And what are the emotional and behavioral symptoms? That is anxiety, nervousness, irritability or mood swings, feeling overwhelmed or unable to cope with the situation or the circumstances, changes in the eating habits, something which is called emotional eating. Emotional eating is when you are stressed or tensed or anxious, you tend to eat more. that is called emotional eating. Even though if you're not hungry, you're eating. So that is changes in the eating habits. Social withdrawal or isolation, you don't feel like going to social gatherings or social meetings, may it be personal or professional. Procrastination or difficulty completing tasks. So what you do is you postpone. Procrastinating is postponing, or you feel you experience very much difficulty in completing tasks. And increased use of alcohol, drugs, tobacco as coping mechanism to cope with stress. People get addicted to alcohol, nicotine, that is smoking and drinking, and drugs. And because they feel that this gives them temporary relief as a coping mechanism. So, and what are the cognitive symptoms? So difficulty concentrating, difficulty in making decisions, difficulty in remembering, memory problems, constant worry and overthinking, and negative thinking or pessimism, or constantly thinking negative. So, it is important to recognize these signs and symptoms of stress and take proactive steps to manage it effectively. Engaging in stress reducing activities like exercise, mindfulness, hobbies, socializing, and seeking support from friends, family, and mental health professionals can help alleviate the negative impact of stress on both body and mind. So, what are the types of stress? Major types of stress is stress can be classified based on various factors, including its duration, intensity, and underlying causes. So, stress can be classified into various types. One type I said eustress and distress. This is another type. So generally stress is categorized into three main types, that is acute stress, episodic acute stress, and chronic stress. So acute stress, anything acute is short term and immediate. Acute means um acute stress is the most common and short term form of stress. It is the body's immediate reaction to a specific event or situation that is perceived as threatening or demanding. This type of stress is typically brief and resolves once the perceived threat or challenge has passed. So it resolves, usually it resolves once the threat when or the challenge has passed. So it is acute stress is the common and short term form of stress. It is the immediate reaction or the instinct reaction to a specific event or a situation or a circumstance. Okay, circumstance. So examples of situations that can trigger acute stress, including giving a presentation, while taking a test, or while encountering a sudden dangerous situation. All these situations may cause acute stress. So episodic acute stress. What is episodic acute stress? Is episodic acute stress refers to a pattern of experiencing acute stress frequently. People who frequently find themselves in stressful situations or who are constantly under pressure may experience episodic acute stress. This pattern of stress is often characterized by individuals who are always in a rush, tend to worry excessively, and have difficulty organizing their lives. It can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed and may contribute to health issues if not managed properly. So this episodic acute stress is, this acute stress may happen once, but the episodic acute stress is a pattern. This happens every time you give a presentation, every time you take a a test. People who frequently find themselves in stressful situations or who are constantly under pressure, so these people may experience episodic, means the one episode of stress like that. This pattern of stress is often characterized by individuals who are in a rush, tend to worry excessively, overthinking, and have difficulty organizing their lives. This type of stress, may contribute to health issues if they are not managed properly. If they are not treated, it can lead to health issues as well. It can affect both body and mind. And the next form is the most serious and damaging form, that is chronic stress. Chronic stress is the long lasting form of stress. It is the most damaging form of stress as well. It occurs when individuals are exposed to prolonged stressors that they feel unable to cope with effectively. The example or the case study we took with the tiger couldn't cope with his academic studies, and he felt constant pressure of his academics. So chronic stress can arise from ongoing problems at work, chronic health conditions, persistent financial difficulties, or ongoing relationship issues. Unlike acute stress, chronic stress does not have a clear endpoint, and individuals may experience its effects for extended periods, potentially leading to severe health consequences. This chronic stress may lead to severe health consequences, both the physical, the psychological, and the cognitive. So, there are some additional types of stress here. So what are they? Physical stress. This types of stress refers to the stress on the body's physical systems due to factors like overexertion, physical injury or illness. And emotional stress, see, physical stress is when you have overexertion, you have much of physical over exercise, or over physical activity, physical injury or illness from the physical activity. So emotional stress is caused by intense or overwhelming emotions such as grief, fear or anger. So emotional stress is caused by overwhelming feelings like grief, like if you have lost someone, or if you're fearing something, or if because of your anger. What is psychological stress? Psychological stress involves mental and emotional strain resulting from challenges like trauma. If they have experienced any trauma, may it be physical trauma or a mental trauma, abuse, any abuse, maybe it is a personal family abuse or a professional abuse, or a demanding work environment, or abuse from work environment as well. And environmental stress results from the exposure to challenging living conditions such as noise, pollution or unsafe neighborhoods. This is not very common, but also environmental factors may also lead to stress. And what is social stress? So social stress arises from the difficulties in interpersonal relationship, social pressure and feelings of isolation. So if there is any problem in relationships, then, or there is any social pressure, so then it is social stress. Time stress occurs when individuals feel overwhelmed by time constraints and have difficulty managing their schedules effectively. So time stress is when the stress is time bound. They have, they're overwhelmed by the time constraints and have difficulty managing their schedules effectively. Some people have anticipatory stress. Anticipatory stress is this type of stress is related to anxiety about future events or situations that have not yet occurred. So कुछ किसी के बारे में सोच कर, oh, this is gonna happen, this might happen, or this is gonna happen in future, it might happen. This is anticipatory stress, the type of stress which is related to anxiety about the future events. They anticipate future events, and it is because of the future anticipation there is stress. And there is something called situational stress or circumstantial stress. That is situational stress is, refers to the stress arising from the specific circumstance, such as moving to a new place, starting a new job role, moving to a new hostel. This might also happen with students. So it is according as per the situation. And the important form of stress is post traumatic stress. This I have already discussed. See, post traumatic stress occurs after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event and involves persistent distressing symptoms and reactions. It's important to remember that stress is a normal part of life and not all stress is harmful. Short term manageable stress can be beneficial and motivate individuals to overcome challenges. However, chronic or overwhelming stress can have serious implications for physical and mental health. So, it's essential to recognize the signs and seek support or adopt coping strategies when needed. See, when you experience any of the signs and symptoms or the types of stress I have mentioned here, kindly consider visiting a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist, respectively. you know and this is the end of the session. As I said already, that I have divided stress into two sessions. So this is the first session. In the next session, we'll have some case studies on stress and how to manage stress. It will be majorly on managing stress, and I'll give some tips for self help as well. And this is it for today's session. And thank you for staying tuned. And namaste.